Hey stream, just gonna be me. I'm going to give my quick dissection of the Microsoft and Bethesda press conferences. Bethesda press conference just ended. Give my thoughts on the two, and stand around a tower and do nothing. Alright, I guess I'll go ahead and get started. So, the Microsoft press opened up. Well, you know what? Before we go into that, it's worth bringing this up because this is something that kind of come up with the Microsoft press conferences over the past 3 years. It's something that while I kind of have a bone with, I don't really think Microsoft really has a bone with, but it's really about what their priorities are. And that's that they one of the big lackings that Microsoft has had compared to Sony is first-party software. If you've been paying attention over the past year, 2 years, Sony has been beating everyone's butts in high-end first-quality AAA software. Like, they've even been beating Nintendo in quality first-party software, which is pretty impressive considering Nintendo's sheer magnitude of first-party software. But Sony's been doing great, and Nintendo is Nintendo. And that's kind of left Microsoft out in the woods. We'll get to how they're working to fix that and how they're getting better at that, because they did make strides during this conference to show that they're getting better. But the problem with that is what ends up happening in the past 2 to 3 Microsoft press conferences is they show all these great games. They show a lot of great games, but very few of them are exclusive. In fact, the ones that are exclusive, they talk console exclusive to Xbox. They're not saying the game's exclusive to Xbox, they're just saying as a console it's exclusive to Xbox, meaning it comes out for Windows 10.
Long as the traveler hangs above us,
So
hungry for its light will find us.
That's where I get confused as to what the priorities of Nintendo are, because normally your priority is to move hardware. You want to move hardware, so you move accessories, so you do everything in your power to move hardware. Usually that means you make good first-party games that are exclusive to your console, that people have to buy to play the games that are high quality. Well, Microsoft's kind of taken a different approach to that. So a lot of their games come out for Xbox and PC, and they don't seem to care at all. I guess if it's selling Windows 10 licenses or it's selling Xbox One, it really doesn't matter. They don't care. That's good for them. Either way. I don't know if that's how they look at it, but it feels really strange in a console market to not be pushing exclusives that are actually exclusive on your console. It may not be a problem for them, but it feels like it's something that should be a problem.
Military and advisory support.
And oh shoot, I got echo here. 1 second.
An outcome of mutual benefit.
Okay, I'm back. So, I guess now I can kind of jump right into the actual press conference itself for Microsoft, now that I've got that kind of rant out of the way.
Sometimes I think
But,
have a good
what I spoke of is going to come up again. It's going to come up multiple times in this press conference. And the general thing I'm going to say is, it's why I don't own an Xbox One. It's because if I wanted to get a game, I'd probably I have a PC. So, they decided to open big this time. Usually, I think 9 times out of the last 10 press conferences, they open up with either COD or Battlefield, one of the two. This time they went a little bigger, and they opened up with the new Halo game that 343's been working on.
You know what must be done
So
to
this
survive.
one, titled Halo Infinite, there were some interesting things there that even I was honestly a little confused about. So it seems like if you look at the Master Chief's armor, it's the classic Master Chief armor. which makes me think kind of remake. But it's pretty clear the way they were talking about it that it's a new game in the franchise. They have a new engine built from the ground up for Halo, and eventually this game will come out and we'll see some actual gameplay trailers for it with this new engine. Good for them. I'm happy for them. I like Halo. Halo's always been a good franchise. They kind of lost me at Reach. I didn't like Reach that much. Halo 4 was good though. I enjoyed Halo 4. I haven't played Halo 5 because I don't have an Xbox One. But that might change on Halo 6 because, or which one are we on now? 5 was Guardians. This is 6. So Halo Infinite is Halo 6. This one's coming out for Windows 10. I might pick it up. We'll see. But anyway, there's not much to talk about on that, outside the fact that it's coming out for Windows 10 and Xbox One. Next one was, they showed off the new Ori game. What was it called? Something in the Wisp, Whisper in the Wisp, Will of the Wisp. Yeah, that's right. Ori's a cool Metroidvania game. I actually recommend it to a lot of people who like Metroidvanias. It's dope fun.
Of course you're interested in survival. Who isn't?
After that, they showed, this was an interesting one. So apparently Activision and From Software have been working on a samurai-themed Bloodborne style game. I can't pronounce the title. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. Yeah, it had interesting gameplay. A lot of it focused on the action, which if it's gonna be like a Blood Souls style game, or whatever you want to call that genre, a Dark Souls, Bloodborne style game, they usually don't focus a lot on the action. It's more the atmosphere and the environment, at least in my opinion. But pretty action-oriented game, it looked like. Really interesting that Activision is the publisher here. Just a thought. Skip a couple things. Crackdown 3 made a showcase. I can do my regular Crackdown rant. Crackdown's really not an ambitious or interesting game, in my opinion. The game's been in development hell for years. When that game launches, I expect it to be pretty bad. Though it'll probably have some really awesome DLC, because that seemed to be the theme for that franchise, was the game is pretty much trash, and then they release some awesome DLC. Metro Exodus showcased. I actually skipped out on that, because I haven't played any of that franchise, but it looked pretty good. They showed a trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3. We get to let it go now. Frozen is now in the game. Confirmed a release for January, which was announced like way early last night. I wasn't planning on getting Kingdom Hearts 3. That's another game that's been in development hell, but its development hell is more like it was Final Fantasy 14's development hell it was stuck in. Just general history of Square. You can look up Final Fantasy 14. It pretty much blew up that entire studio, and they've done so many changes, good changes, I'll say, because of Final Fantasy 14. But looks like we're actually getting a release of Kingdom Hearts 3, which for Kingdom Hearts fans, I guess that's good. Just another game that's been out there for a long while. Some new Sea of Thieves content. I know people have been begging for new Sea of Thieves content. They showed a trailer for Battlefield 5 Story. I don't know what to make of that, so just move on. New Forza game. I know there's a lot of people who really enjoy Forza. I'm not one of them, but I know there's a lot out there, and more power to them. It looked pretty. All Forza games usually do look really pretty.
Welcome to Eververse.
Oh, that's coming out in October. I didn't realize how soon a release that was. Now kind of for a bigger announcement. I'm glad Microsoft brought this up, because this is actually kind of important for them and pretty relevant in gaming overall. as to what their strategy here is. I know a lot of people were kind of whining about it because they were worried that it's going to blow up studios, but so Microsoft has either started or acquired in apparently the past 6 months 5 new studios. So they bought out the Playground Games, the studio for Forza, which, I mean, that makes sense to me. Forza's been exclusively on Microsoft hardware forever. They apparently have them working on a new open world project. Again, good for them. I think that's probably a smart pickup, but it's just one that makes sense. The bigger pickup was Ninja Theory. I'm not overly familiar with Ninja Theory, but I know a lot of their games are well recognized. What was it, Hellblade, I think it was? A pretty well-liked game, and I know a lot of people think pretty highly of it. Picking up Ninja Theory is a good pickup for them. They make a lot of good games. It'll round out some of their first-party software that Microsoft desperately needs. They also picked up Compulsion Games, the studio for We Happy Few, that crazy game where you're just like compulsively forced to take happy pills. That game blew everyone's mind last year at E3 as an indie game. It was incredibly artistic, incredibly creative. It was a good show off if they're trying to push indie devs and pick up quality indie devs to pick up Compulsion Games. Anyway, I think. Oh yeah, and then they announced an actual release date for We Happy Few. I believe it's coming out August 10th. It's pretty soon. I might pick up a PC version of it. Anyway, what else did they run through? They showed off a bunch of stuff for PUBG. I don't play PUBG, but I know they had a whole bunch of little spoiler teasers within that for people who actually like PUBG. I just can't get over the fact of the clips of people driving vehicles on the Xbone version of PUBG and getting their cars stuck in buildings that hadn't been built in the terrain yet, that hadn't been rendered yet. Can't get over that. Next, they showed the Tales of Vesperia remaster. Yo, that was sick. Tales of Vesperia is actually one of the better Tales games, and pretty underrated. Most people just go straight to Vesperia or Abyss, but, or I meant Symphonia or Abyss, but, Vesperia was really good. To see it remastered was nice, and it came out later that remaster is coming on the Switch, which is freaking baller. Vesperia on Switch is, I can't, day one buy for me. Gaming is better on Switch. It's kind of if you're gonna release a game multi-platform and it's on Switch, I don't know why you wouldn't get it on Switch. So that's coming this winter. So yeah, check that one out on your calendars. I think there's already an Amazon up for it, and it's like $50 on Switch. Yeah, gonna get that one. Now for kind of one of the bigger highlights. Division 2 showed up. We knew Division 2 was going to be somewhere at E3. I figured it would just show up in the Ubi conference. No, we're going to see it right now in the Microsoft conference. It takes place in DC. Looked pretty good. They did a full, 5-minute gameplay trailer. It looked good. I was happy. They showed a lot of loot, as opposed to what Anthem did, and didn't show loot, or show much in terms of actual gameplay instead of a fully cut up segment of gameplay. I was really hoping with Anthem that we'd see a full-length run-through of the demo they apparently have at E3, and we're not gonna see that. So yeah, okay. But going back to Division, it looked really nice. There was some more stuff announced with the Division. Let me see if I can scroll down to that, because it would be out of order, because I found out about that well after the press conference. Yes, here we go. So, PvP in the Dark Zone is returning. For those who don't know, the Dark Zone is their PvEVP zone. It's not many games are doing that kind of gameplay experience at this time, so it's pretty unique, even though I personally didn't enjoy it much when I played it. But that might have just been part of the fact that playing against other players in the Division when I played the Division was pretty bad. You just kind of became giant bullet sponge, and whoever had the most health wins. There really wasn't any strategy or technique to it. The game is being built with an end game first mentality, which I'm in Destiny 2 right now. Their end game is shit, so hearing that makes me feel better and makes me worry about Anthem. There will be raids, and there's a rumor going around that they're 8-player raids. That hasn't been confirmed by anybody, but it seems to be the general thought that there's going to be raids. Well, there's definitely going to be raids, but it looks like, based on how the rumors are going, it's going to be an 8-player raid. Now for kind of some more shocking announcements. The DLC for the first year of Division 2, free. You're not going to have to buy a season pass for the first year. So I think, I hear that, and I think about that for a second, and I'm like, well, how are you going to make your money? Well, in general, that means cosmetics. So there's probably, they haven't said anything, but I would imagine there's going to be a cosmetics system, some way that you can get cosmetics into the game, so that way they can make money to build some of this DLC. But also that after a year, there's going to be some giant content drop that's going to be paid for. You're just, after a year, you're just going to have to pay for this massive content drop that they're going to have, and it's probably going to be like $40 to $60 to get this next DLC. The way I would think about it is, now you're buying the game and the season pass all in one, but it's going to cost you the cost of the actual game rather than the game plus season pass. But these are all nice things to hear. They address some of the issues that we've seen with these games as service games like Destiny, most notably Destiny 2, and even Division 1. Because don't forget, Division 1 actually became a pretty good game after its release. I've actually debated playing it myself, but I've got other games I kind of would rather stay into, mostly Overwatch and Splatoon right now. So, I think that's enough of the... release date, March 15th, 2019. That would put it 1 month after Anthem. There's going to be a beta. No words on when that beta is going to be, but there are signups online. So, if you want to try out the game and join the beta, check the signups. So, the next thing they talked about was the big, was Game Pass. So, I have thoughts about Game Pass. So, what Game Pass is they're trying to build it up as kind of this Netflix style subscription model for gaming. I think it's like $100 a year, I think. I forget what exactly it is, but it's a subscription model for playing games. So it seems like they announced like they're going to put a whole bunch of games into it. The Master Chief Collection is going to be in it. The Division, Fallout, and Elder Scrolls Online are all in it right now. I think they announced a few other games that were going to be in it that don't ring a bell to me. But the idea is they're trying to make it so that you should be buying Game Pass on an annual subscription level rather than actually buying these games. Now, here's the issue with that. Unless, like, all the games are coming out for it, I don't often really see a reason to get it. Like, you need to have a lot of games out for this for me to think that it's worth my time. Or else I'm just going to continue to buy my games. Also, when a game is announced that it's going to be on Game Pass 6 months after its release, like it's been out for 6 months and then you're announced it's going to be on Game Pass and I've already spent $60 on it, I'm not going to be a happy camper. Now I'm paying for the game and I could have had it free if I just waited 6 months. that's going to upset people. So unless like all Xbox games are going to be on Game Pass, I don't really want to get into it because of pretty much that main fear of a game I bought is going to be in Game Pass. I like the idea, but I think the execution on it is lacking. And I don't think the execution on it is going to get better. Then they showed a whole bunch of indie games. Some nice indie games. There were some nice indie games there. I think the most notable one was Tunic, which clearly was a play on Legend of Zelda. It's very cutesy style top-down Zelda game. I thought it was cool. I instantly went on my Steam profile and looked to put it on my wish list, so I'll know when it comes out and I can get it on Steam. Again, a theme of Microsoft pressers. That's a really cool game. I'm gonna have to get it somewhere besides Xbox because I don't own an Xbox, and it's going to be there for me. Square showed off Shadow of the Tomb Raider. They've done really well with the Tomb Raider franchise, despite the fact that I believe the last one sold poorly, but in my opinion, it's not that it sold poorly, it's that their expectations were just absurd. They made way too many copies, expected it to sell way too well. I thought the game did well. I know it made #1 charts that week. I think it did for multiple weeks, and it apparently didn't sell enough, which tells me your expectations were totally out of whack. A new skateboard game, Session, because apparently it's 1998. Black Desert Online, going to beta in the fall for Xbox One. I always kind of thought about getting the Black Desert Online, and then I was like, oh, I don't want to do this, so I'm not going to do it. So here was a surprise. So this was something that people were talking about. Devil May Cry 5. Coming soon. Did that have a date? I don't think that had a date. Yeah, Capcom showed up and they showed off Devil May Cry 5. Main character appears to be Nero. We're actually like continuing from Devil May Cry 4, which was released like 10 years ago. And Nero is going to be one of the main characters. It looked great. It looked like Devil May Cry. Dante made an appearance. Apparently, we're not going to talk about DMC. I don't know if DMC is going to be considered part of the Devil May Cry franchise anymore. But yeah, I thought it looked cool. Moving on. A few more titles left. One of the Namco Bandai had a trailer that apparently Microsoft was pretty hyped to show off in their press conference for what was the game called? Jump Force. So the Jump Shonen franchise is something that gets like an annual release in Japan. It's just a crossover game for all of the awesome anime that everyone loves: Naruto, DBZ, One Piece. They have like this annual fighting game release, but that game almost never makes it stateside for multiple reasons. Mostly because the licensing for that is just a bitch. It's a bitch and a half. You just can't do anything with the licensing. You have to do so much work to get that released stateside because of the way our licensing and copyright system works. But if they showed it in the Microsoft presser, it's almost undoubtedly coming stateside. So my money's on the reason we saw that is because of how much success there was with Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is pretty much become the fighting game of the year. Some interesting thoughts on that game. It's sold really well, but apparently because of the transition to the Unreal 4 engine, it was really hard for them to make, and it's going to take them quite a while to recoup cost on that. But they're expecting to, and it's doing really well, and it seems to be the most popular game going into EVO. So my guess is bringing Jump Force stateside is probably a way of just getting into that pot. So next they showed Dying Light 2. If you like Dying Light, you'll probably like Dying Light 2. your parkour survival horror game, whatever people want to call that series. I never got into it. If it's your thing, it's your thing. They teased Battletoads, because they've had the Battletoads license forever and have been sitting on it. So, Battletoads teaser coming out in 2019. Just Cause 4, which was spoiled on Steam like a couple days ago. Square showed that off. And now we move into so the last like 3 titles. I was like, oh, is this Gears of War? Is this Gears of War? Because the rumor going in was that they had at least 2 Gears of War games to announce, like a PC strategy game, and a actual like title maybe. Well, it turns out that was true. In fact, they had 3 titles. They had Funko Pop Gears of War. We're just gonna laugh at that for a second. Whatever that is. It's a mobile game. They just kind of like threw it out there. Hey, we're working on this. It's cute. It's funny. It's Gears of War. And then they showed Gears Tactics, a turn-based strategy game, kind of like XCOM for PC. I know there's been some reporting that it's mobile, but I'm pretty sure it was PC. It didn't really show much of it. Like, you basically got like 5 seconds of that game, and that was it. They kind of made it sound like a throwaway spin-off game, which was a little sad because any XCOM-based turn-based strategy game deserves more than just a 5-second throwaway line. So we'll see how that goes. And then, finally, we got to see Gears of War 5. I mean, Gears of War and Halo are pretty much the 2 biggest franchises for Microsoft. So, showing Gears of War 5, good idea. Actually showed some gameplay to it, too. I looked nice. I haven't played Gears 4. I don't know if I will, mostly because I'm waiting for it to go on sale, but because it's in the Microsoft store, it'll never go on sale, so I'll never buy it. Which kind of makes me sad. But, yeah, that's that. Speaking of that, it's, like I started this chat off earlier, it's coming out for PC and Xbox One. So, I have no reason to get an Xbox One if it's coming out for PC. Alright, and lastly, they finished off with a trailer of CDG Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077. This is a game that was announced ages ago. It was rumored that a trailer was going to be at this E3, and here it is. Didn't show any gameplay, but you got to see the world that the game is going to be in, and it was very bright and colorful. Normally, when you think cyberpunk, you think dystopian society, but it was bright, it was colorful, and we'll see where it goes from there. CG Projekt Red has so much positive momentum from their Witcher series here that I imagine they can do no wrong in this game, and this game can be totally trash and it'll still sell excellent. The sales on it will just be absurd, even if the game is trash. But, like I said, they have a lot of positive momentum. I imagine the game will probably be pretty good. But there was no gameplay shown of it, so I don't really know what to tell you, outside the fact that they have a world that they're building upon. And that was pretty much it for the Microsoft presser. It was a good presser. I mean, Microsoft's usually is, because they show all the third-party software that you can get on all systems. There was, if you were going to use this presser as a reason to buy an Xbox One, they did nothing to help you. When you can just have a PC. Or the game's multi-platform. Or it's Tales of Vesperia and you have a Switch. I don't know what else to say. I come out of this every year from Microsoft pressers saying, that was a great presser, I loved it. I have no reason to buy an Xbox One. Anyway, I give it a solid B- for that, but they always get B- because they're always great pressers, and I don't want an Xbox One because of them. So, moving on, we'll go to the Bethesda presser. FYI, I'm skipping the Devolver Digital presser. That's normally just a meme presser, but I believe they do actually have an announcement to make. I think they are announcing a game that they're working on during it, but in general, it's just a meme presser. So, Bethesda, let me get out me notes for that one. So they opened up with Rage 2 and kind of joked on Walmart Canada for kind of spoiling that, which was funny, mildly funny. Bethesda's always been good to laugh at their own expense. The biggest question I have for Rage 2 is why. The first Rage was panned on entirely, so for some reason they felt the need for a Rage 2. So now you get a Doom in the Fallout universe with cars, which is generally my thoughts on it. It looked fun to play. AI looked spectacularly stupid, which is what you want out of those games. And they had a concert. They actually had a concert for it. The drummer wasn't wearing shoes, and they made a point to call that out, that the drummer wasn't wearing shoes. So I'm just gonna let that one go. And so next day showed Elder Scrolls Legends. CVH actually got to walk up there. CVH is a pretty cool dude. He runs the community for the Elder Scrolls Legends. He got up there, he talked about how they're releasing crossplay across consoles. So there's going to be a Switch version, PS4, Xbox One version. Probably won't be till the new client launches, because they're redoing, like, pretty much all the software on the game is being redone. If you haven't been paying attention to the game, they're redoing everything so that way they can better make content for it. They're completely changing developers for it. They've apparently been paying 2 studios for this game for like the past almost year. So they think really highly of this franchise as a card game. I honestly do as well. It's a really good card game. If you get tired of stupidity in Hearthstone, you'll enjoy stupidity in Elder Scrolls Legends. There's a lot of ways you can play. You can play it really competitive, or you can go for the memes. It has plenty of memes. I think it has more meme cards than Hearthstone, but you can play the game pretty seriously. The competitive tournaments have really started up recently. The new client's going to have a tournament format in it. I don't know how that's going to work, but I think there's good reason to be hyped for Elder Scrolls Legends. Let's see. Then they brought out Elder Scrolls Online, talked about the new expansions for the new DLC coming out, Dungeons and Black Marsh. I don't play Elder Scrolls Online. It's a very highly rated MMO, probably one of the better MMOs to come out in the past 2 to 3 years, mostly because a lot of them are really bad. I think there was one that came out that we won't talk about over the past couple days. I think about past month, maybe a couple weeks, that crashed and burned quite impressively. Next they showed off Doom Eternal. Hard to get a read on what that was. Demons look like they made it to our world and are blowing up everything. My read, they use the term sequel. So my read on it is that, yes, it's a sequel, but it uses the exact same engine. So it's basically new content built up using the same engine, using a lot of the resources they already have. I don't think that's a bad thing. It's a good way to make content. Quake Champions came up. We can joke about Quake Champions. I'm actually gonna have a quote that I posted when I was talking to my bro James in chat. The free-to-play version is going to get a free weekend this weekend. If that didn't sound awkward to you, that's because it sounded even more awkward on stage. Game's still in early. To kind of explain what that means, game's still in early release. You can buy the purchasable version of it, and when it gets an actual release, it's going to have the free-to-play version. It's going to have a free-to-play version, but apparently you can test out the free-to-play version this weekend. Yeah, it was pretty awkward. Quake Champions hasn't gone anywhere, in case you didn't know. It's not very popular. I know a lot of people moved from Overwatch to it and are moving back into Overwatch from it because they either A, don't enjoy it, B, the tournaments don't have enough money in them, C, the tournaments are online and the netcode is garbage. I know they had one tournament where an Australian was trying to qualify for the US region, and I don't know if you know about Australian internet, but it's really bad. So when he was playing on US servers, it was really bad, and there was a lot of ink spilled on that whole ordeal. Anyway, so next they showed off Prey. They're adding more content into Prey. It has new DLC out now, like just released now during this press conference. That adds some new gameplay modes. Along with that, they're adding 2 new DLCs, it sounded like. The first one being Moon. I have Moon Prey, but I know I wrote that down wrong. Moon something. But anyway, it's a new story with... It's a new story, but it has randomizer content. So each time you try to play through it, or if you die and have to start at a checkpoint over again, the entire world changes. At least that's what it sounded like. Now, I hear things like that, and my mind instantly goes to what's released over the past 6 months or so. There was a fan-made version of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past that added what they call randomizer, and it takes all the drops in the game and it randomizes them out. But you can put in like a code or something that makes it so that you run the same one every time. And they've made a lot of speedrunners have made tournaments out of this, where each round everyone plays on, or each matchup everyone plays on the same version. So everyone has to speed run the same version of this randomized table of loot. I kind of hear that and think the same thing as what they're going to kind of do for Prey here, where you have this additional story that you're going to run through that's going to be different every time you try to play through it. But hopefully you have like a way that you can input a code so that so 2 people can play the same version at the same time, and you can have a race. That said, it's a Bethesda game, and I don't know, people who speedrun Bethesda games tend to do absurd shit because their engines aren't exactly the most stable engines in the universe. Yeah, Bethesda speedruns of Bethesda games can be pretty interesting. Their walls are kind of like Sonic games walls, where they're more a suggestion and not an actual wall. But anyway, so next up with Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein 2 is coming to Switch in 2019. That's been known for a while now. But gaming is better on Switch. And Bethesda gets that, and we can all be happy about it. But they also announced the next new Wolfenstein game, Wolfenstein Youngblood. You play as BJ's 2 daughters. It's going to be a co-op game, and it's coming in 2019. Yay. Fuck Nazis. Can't beat that. Most of my notes for like the next 10 minutes are me screaming about getting like Twitch drop. So, gonna have to roll out here. Oh, they teased a new Skyrim port, people. Skyrim getting ported to Alexa. Okay, that's a meme, but yeah, so they actually did as a joke, do a little trailer of Skyrim getting ported to pretty much everything physically possible, because that's that's what they've been doing for the past 3 years, is porting Skyrim to everything possible. But it was a funny little trailer. Good watch. And then they moved on to Fallout 76. Now, I in my mind had kind of tried to figure out what this game was going to be, and I kind of saw it more as like a solo played MMO, like kind of like Phantasy Star Online, kind of that style where you pretty much play it solo, but there's stuff you can do with friends. So, but after that, it had way more feelings of kind of a world building style of Destiny or The Division, kind of these games for as service model. But they're kind of taking it in a much different direction. Whereas in The Division and Destiny, it's all about your loot. Getting better stuff for your character. Whereas what they showed off to me seemed to be more about building stuff, building a world, kind of tower defense-y style, where you build your own little conclave and it gets attacked. And you have friends and such that you play with, and you get stuff to build more stuff for your little conclave, and it gets attacked, it gets blown up, and you rebuild your little conclave again, and rinse and repeat. It actually looked pretty nice, really. Definitely going to be a very heavy multiplayer feel for it. Entirely online. They called it softcore survival, which I'll add phrasing.gif to that one. They also apparently across the world map, they're going to have nuclear silos that players can go to, get a bunch of codes, and then just launch a nuke somewhere on the map and blow up whoever they hate's little fortress that they created into that little shanty town or whatever. Now, I've played online games before. I know how this works. Somebody's gonna hoard this shit. But kind of the way I started to think about it, and how the way I kind of would think they're going to design it, is that so the nuking of regions looks like a raid to me, where you have to raid to get into the nuke silo, you launch the nuke, and then they said then you can explore the nuclear wasteland you have created to get rare materials. And I'm like, this is a raid. Like, you're going to go into this nuclear silo, raid this nuclear silo to launch a nuke on somebody, and then go raid the turf for unique materials. The game is probably going to be heavily instanced, similar to Destiny, but without like a tower, like no towns, just heavily instanced. So you walk across various zones and you're in a new instance of that zone. They've already announced dedicated servers, which it's fucking 2018. Every game should have dedicated servers. Stop being lazy. Just give us dedicated servers. It looked interesting. They announced that there's going to be a beta. I don't know when that's going to start. The release date for this game is November 14th. Like, that's really soon. I'm probably going to sign up for the beta. I've never been a big fan of Fallout. I actually liked like older like Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 games more than I like Fallout 3 and 4. But I haven't played much of them. So that's that. I'm probably going to test out the beta though, because these Destiny style games have appeared to scratch an itch I really like. So we'll give that a try whenever it comes out. They had a few more announcements. Elder Scrolls Blades, which is a mobile Elder Scrolls game. It's a straight up mobile Elder Scrolls experience on your mobile platform of choice, where it seemed to have 3 game modes. One like PvP mode, one kind of roguelike mode where you just go through a never-ending dungeon, and then another one where you're like rebuilding your town, which is kind of supposed to be the story mode, I guess. What I heard that made me kind of cringe was that it's going to be free to play. So if it's free to play, that means that it's gonna be pay to win. anytime you hear free to play, it's pay to win. It's hard. You're not going to easily get around that. That in order to be successful, you're going to have to pay. Yeah, so I'm just gonna let that go. Two other announcements. So, Starfield, a game that I believe Bethesda has under trademark for like 5 years now, but just hasn't done anything with. They announced that that's an actual game that exists and had no trailers of any sort to really show for it. That was about it. I can't say much on it, but it's nice to know that Bethesda is actively working on new titles, new franchises. You should always be looking to make new franchises and not just make the same game over and over and over again. If there's anything you learned from Guerrilla Games and Horizon Zero Dawn, it's always be looking to start a new project. And after that, we had our Half-Life 3 moment. Elder Scrolls 6 exists. They are working on it. It will come out someday. Which, I mean, I could have told you without a trailer that it will come out someday. Worth noting that both Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, they made a note to say that these are our long-term projects, meaning that typically at E3, their E3 presser, anything you see during the press conference for Bethesda comes out before the next press conference. So it's stuff you're going to see in the next year. But the way they worded it for those two titles, they're not going to be coming out anytime soon. They're not going to be coming out within this next year, and we're probably going to see them at the next Bethesda press conference. So overall, as a press conference, Bethesda did pretty well. Unfortunately, a lot of their titles were kind of leaked beforehand. We kind of already knew about all the titles that were coming out, and there was really nothing new to speak of in terms of shock releases. Maybe that mobile, the mobile Elder Scrolls and Elder Scrolls 6 announcement. I think we knew Starfield was going to be announced. I think there were a lot of rumors that Starfield was going to actually be announced. But they showed enough gameplay to satisfy me for most of the games. It looked good. I'm interested in Fallout 76. I'm probably going to go ahead and get into the beta like right now once I end this little talk down. But I'd give it a B+. It was probably better than Microsoft's because Microsoft always has the stigma that I've talked to thoroughly so far. And they did a good job. So for the next press conferences, I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to do one on Monday, like super late, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning late. That's just because I have stuff to do on Monday nights, so I can't watch. I'm going to miss, the PC gaming show I think starts at 6, so I'll see the Ubi presser, and then I'll have to head out. And I'm probably going to miss the first part of the Microsoft presser, so I'll probably review that. I'll probably review that whenever I get back, and then I'll watch the PC. I'm probably going to speed through the PC one. The thing with the PC gaming show is that it has a history of not showing games, and it shows more hardware, which doesn't really interest me in terms of gaming. But it sounded like from the talk of it, they're actually going to have announcements to make here. I don't know why though, because there's a certain stigma to the PC gaming show, that it's mostly just for mid-level developers that can't get funding, or need funding. There's just a certain stigma to being on it, in my opinion at least. But I'll watch it before I do my thoughts and takes on all the press conferences. So the first one tomorrow is the Square Enix press conference. And then I believe, I think Limited Print Run Games is doing one. I'm probably going to look at that. Don't know if I'll talk to it. I'll probably make like a quick word about it. They're a company that's been growing pretty big of late, of taking indie dev games that get online only releases and then release physical editions of them and a super limited print run, like a couple thousand copies. It's really interesting stuff, and you can get really cool games with them. Like let's see if I have one. Fury. Yeah, Fury was one of the titles that they did a while back. But they'll do like all those really cool indie games. They'll give a limited print run too. I think it's only run by like 2 people, but they've been doing a lot of work lately. Then they have a press conference. After that, I believe is Ubi, then the PC Gaming Show, then Sony. So I'll have a lot of ground to cover tomorrow night. Actually, you know what? You know what I might do? I might just get up early and do it before the Nintendo presser. We'll see how I feel. I'll definitely watch them all tomorrow night, but we'll see what I'm gonna do then. And then on Tuesday, when I do my normal Splatoon stream, we'll talk about the Nintendo press conference, because I'm gonna want to watch some of the stuff they're doing afterwards, because they're having the Smash 5 competition and the Splatoon World Championships, and I'm interested to watch both of those. So we'll wait till the evening before I do my little takedown on that. And I guess that'll be that. I'll talk to everyone around.